Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So if this is the first time of you seeing my face, my name is Cynthia, and in today's video I'll be sharing with you things you need to consider before you pick a UK university. So before I got into a UK university to do my masters, I applied to so many schools, and to be honest, I didn't consider a lot of things. I just needed a place that I know someone, or maybe somewhere that I've heard a lot about. So I applied to a school that I had someone already schooling there. But now being in the UK, I've now found out some things that I should have considered before applying to a UK university. And another thing stood out for my school, which I'm going to discuss in the video over time. And when you're applying, there are things you need to consider. So before I applied, I wanted to study animation. So coming from a creative background, I wanted to do masters in animation, be that something I'm already familiar with, and I just wanted to get a more grounded knowledge in animation. So I applied for animation in so many universities. A lot of them applied, not a lot per se, and most of them didn't really consider my portfolio that I already submitted to them. Just one school stood out for me, and they considered my portfolio, and they messaged me and they told me that, oh, okay, we see your portfolio and we don't think that you're going to do very well in this course you've applied in. We suggest that you move over to this course. We had Zoom meetings, they explained a lot of things, and it actually helped me decide on the school I wanted to go to. I had admission to I think 4 schools, but just one of them considered the portfolio that I submitted, because okay, I wanted to study animation and a lot of them do 2D animation. I'm like, okay, it's a nice territory to get into, since not many of them actually consider 3D animation. A lot of them just do more of 2D animation. I'm like, okay, since it's animation, I could just maybe get into 2D animation and maybe get grounded in that aspect. That brings me to the first point. A lot of you pick schools based on their rating, their ranking, what reputation they have had over the years. You want to go to Stanford, you want to go to Harvard, you want to go to Oxford, you want to go to one bougie school in London and all that. But that's not really what you should consider when you are picking a university. Yeah, ranking is nice and all that, but how does it affect your course? Do they really see you as an individual, or you're just a collection of students that they're going to have for that semester? So you have to consider these things. Do you just submit a portfolio, or do you submit a CV and they're like, okay, it's a student, they have all the criteria we need, okay, let's give them admission? So a lot of schools actually consider your strong suit and they want you to do well in your strong suit. So that brings me to the course you're going to study. Now, a lot of schools also are specialized in so many things like science and technology, or maybe a business school, and then you want to study fine art in a business school. How does that even make sense? So it's okay, or it's nice for you to consider, this course I want to study, is it a strong suit for this school? This business school I want to study art in, am I gonna do well, or is it just a course that they want to use to add that they have this course? Because already from the name of the school, their strong suit is business, or maybe their strong suit is science and technology, and you want to go and study fine art, or you want to study graphic design, or you want to study jewelry making in the school. So you have to check what this school is really good at. So if they're good at creations, like an art and science school, yeah, you can study art in that school because it's part of their strong suit. Hence, it formed the name of the school. You want to study something that has to do with IT, look for a school that has that strong suit. Now, in the same vein as looking at this school, what's the cost value, what's the cost structure? You have to compare all these things, because one problem I had with my school is they had animation as a whole, and inside animation they had 2D animation, 3D animation, so they needed to divide them in two. So that semester that I applied was it's the first semester that this 3D animation course is being taken by the department. So their cost structure wasn't really solid yet, because the cost structure under animation was formed for 2D, 3D, everything is just ranked into one. But when they now branched out, okay, there's 2D, there's 3D, they didn't really have that strong content structure. So I messaged the head of department, and he was very straight with me, and we don't really have that content structure, but we have things in place, but it has not been uploaded on the website. So I requested that he send it to me so that I can check if the school actually has what I am looking for as an animator. So he sent it to me privately through my email, and yeah, it wasn't a lot, but it was something I could work with. So this is something you need to also think about when you're looking for a course. You should check the content structure. A lot of schools, they are supposed to have it on their website, but if they don't have it, please send a message to the head of department or whoever it is that is the head of the course and request for it, because you need to know what you're going to take. But if you're just getting admission because you just want to gain admission, you might not be able to function well in that regard. Now, another thing you need to check before you pick a school in the UK is how this school is oriented. How is it, like, how do I put it? Is this school a city university or a campus university? Now, there are schools that are scattered all around the city center, like all around the city. Maybe English department is in so and so place. Then if you have a lecture in another place, you have to move to another part of the city. You know, there are schools that are scattered everywhere in the city. Now, there are schools that have a coordinated campus where everything is happening within that campus. Now, from where I was coming from in North Cyprus, the school is a coordinated campus. Everything is within a specific place. But the school I'm attending now is scattered everywhere. Like, you have a course in this building, you have to go over to that place. You have another lecture in another building, you have to go over to that place. So this is something you need to also consider. What's your health situation? Will it support that movement from one place to the other? If it's okay, then that's fine. Or what's the transportation movement from this other place that you're going to the next place? Also consider that. So how is this school oriented? So that's what you have to also consider. How are the facilities scattered? Am I having a lecture in this place and I need to go to the library in another part of the city? That is also what you have to consider. Now, speaking about accommodation and transportation, this one is very, 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 very important. Now, you have to consider your accommodation. Now, a lot of people come to the UK and they have to come with their dependents, be it their husbands or their children. Now, you might not be allowed to stay in the school accommodation with your family. That is one thing you have to know. So that means you have to look for accommodations outside the school, which might be very, very difficult to find, because for me, I needed to move out of here with my husband and I couldn't get an accommodation in the school campus. So, and another good thing for me was I have families already in the UK. So it was quite easy for me to stay with family for a while before I eventually found a place where my husband and I were going to stay. So you have to consider all these things before you move over to the UK. If you're coming as it's only you, there's nobody you're coming with, that's fine. You can actually stay in the school accommodation for some time before you now decide to either continue staying there or find an accommodation, a shared apartment where you can stay with people. Now, another thing you have to know about accommodation is it's not like a click and find kind of thing. It is going to take time. I'm not exaggerating. It is going to take sweat and blood to find an accommodation. Like, you have to go for viewing, because you're not going to base on what you see on pictures. Yeah, apps are already available for you to see all these houses. But now, seeing the house you like does not mean you have gotten the house that you like. Because as you're going to see that house, there are about 10 other people that are also coming to see the house. And the landlord can only pick one person. Now, for you as someone that just came to the UK, for you to get that house, it will be very, very slim, because UK actually base a lot of things on the history you have had in the country. That's the thing that actually states your authenticity in the country. Now, for you that's coming from outside to the UK, you don't have history yet. Your name has not been somewhere that you have been this and that and that and that and that. So it will be difficult if they check your chart or check your ranking or check your profile to say this person is to be trusted. So it's difficult for you that just came into the UK to find accommodation, because landlord will not give you a house because you don't have history. So most times you tend to find a house from somewhere or someone or a private landlord. Like, it's difficult, I'll tell you. I spent months and months and months looking for an accommodation. It was difficult. You even find one that'll tell you, okay, we don't really know, you don't have a profile, you don't have a history, you have to pay like a specific length of time. Usually they charge monthly, but because they can't really trust you, you end up paying like 6 months upfront, 1 year upfront, which is a lot, because pounds is like the most expensive currency in the world. So think about it, you're paying like £8,000 at a stretch, or you're paying like £10,000 at a stretch. That's a lot of money. So these are things you also have to consider, especially if you're migrating with your family. It is something you need to consider before you pick a school or before you leave from the place. In another video, I'm going to talk about apps that you will need or that will be very helpful to you, make life easy for you in the UK. But think about your accommodation. Like, I can't stress this enough. It's very, very important. Now, aside accommodation, also think of your transportation. Now, most cities have discount for students. As a student, you can pay, like, let's say if the transportation is like £2, let's say bus transportation is like £2. For students, it's slashed to like £1 or maybe less. So you have to think about transportation mediums. Do you have to take a train to where you're going to? Trains don't really slash if you don't have a rail card. So you need to get a rail card. What's the price of rail card? These are things you need to consider. See, so many people don't know this is because all these things are not just there online for you to know. So you need to have this experience, and it's good that a lot of people on YouTube are bringing this experience, their personal experiences based on where they're staying in the UK, to you, so you won't say that you're not informed. So check transportation of the place. A lot of stores within places as well give discount to students, so buying things might be a lot cheaper in terms of feeding and all that, especially if you're coming with your family. So you need to think about this. For instance, let me talk about feeding, for instance. Now, in some cities, living accommodation is cheap, but feeding is expensive. Let's say London, for instance. Feeding is cheap in London, but living expenses like accommodation is very, very expensive. Utility, footing and all that, very, very expensive. But feeding in London is quite affordable because things are very, very available for you. But there are cities that you barely even find a lot of places to buy that, and if you find, it is very, very expensive, like extremely expensive. Think about the expense of living in different locations, accommodation, transportation, all those things that make living in that place very, very comfortable and convenient for you. Because if you don't, you end up being frustrated, overwhelmed and depressed. Like, it will come. There'll come a time that it will get into your head, you're like, I can't take this anymore. Like, I can't do this anymore. Now, speaking of accommodation and so, I know a lot of you want to leave home by all means. But I'm telling you, if you have somebody in the abroad, in the UK to be precise, if you have somebody in anywhere that you want to go to and they already have a place, please, I will beg you. I know you want to be free. I know you want to live on your own. I know you want to have that time for yourself. You want to flex when you want. But I would advise you as a friend, as somebody that has your best interest at heart, if you have family members in the abroad, please stay with them until you get to know the environment, until you get to understand things, because they are going to save a lot of expense for you, especially accommodation and feeding. Maybe you can just support in one way or the other. But if you have family members abroad, just have intentions to stay with them for the time being, because they're going to help you a lot. They're going to save you a lot of money. But if you feel like you're jagaban and you have the money and you want to like maybe live on your own and flex it and all that, feel free. If you don't have somebody, that's understandable. But if you do have a relative one way or the other anywhere, I will advise that you stay with them for the time being, because they will help you get well adjusted in the environment faster. They will help you get adjusted, save some money, and before you now find a place and move out. So that's my advice. Now, another thing you need to consider again before you pick a UK university is teaching facility that they have. Think of the teaching facilities and the support you can get as a student. So when you check all these things, how are they relating to international students? How many international students are in that place? You know, because there are cities that are populated by black people, or many people from your region are already in that place. There are some places that it is very difficult to even find one black person, that if they even see a black person, you will know within you that you are in a foreign place, because they'll be looking at you weird, because they don't really see black people a lot in that city. You have to think about this as well. What's the population of international students in that place, or what's the population of black people or people from your place in that region? This video is not really directed to black people, but the reason I'm saying black people is because they are usually the ones that find it difficult adjusting in a lot of places. But whatever region you want to go to, make sure that you have people of like tribe or like race or from where you're coming from in that region, because if you don't have people from your place in that region, you might find it a bit difficult to adjust or feel at home in that place. When you go to London, you find a lot of people, diverse people, black, Asian, mixed races, and you don't feel out of place. Like, there is a level of equality feeling you get in London that you might not get in a lot of places. So before you find a school, before you pick a school, make sure that there are people that look like you within that region. But if you're someone that just wants to escape from people that look like you, then it's fine. You can find schools in regions that a lot of people that from your area doesn't really live in. It might be to your advantage, might be to your disadvantage, because when you find someone that look like you or someone that understands from where you're coming from, you might find it very easy to adjust, and the person will just be an escape to when you're feeling overwhelmed. I don't know if you get what I'm saying. Now this one is targeted to postgraduate courses. Now most of you take A-level courses, and then when you want to do your masters, you're like, okay, I want to do something different. Now before you pick something different, make sure it's something that you're interested in. Don't just say, okay, because you studied health science or maybe one medical course like that, you want to go into an art related course, and maybe you have no idea of what art is about, or maybe you want to go into IT and you have no idea about anything that concerns IT. You'll find out that you feel out of place as well when you're taking the course, because a lot of slangs, a lot of jargons that they'll be talking about the course, you might not really understand it. So before you pick a postgraduate course, make sure it's something that you have a flair for, or something that you're interested in on the long run. And aside that, you also have to check before you pick the university, also check that this course I'm studying, what's the employability rate for this university, because a lot of universities, they have high employability rate once you graduate from this particular course, as in companies are just waiting for you like this to just come. And a lot of universities, when you graduate from that course, you find it difficult to actually get a job, because one, the employability rate of the university is not high. If you check their website, the school's website will tell you that they have a certain percentage of employability rate, and they will show you with charts and stuff like that. So these are things you have to also consider. Once I graduate, am I going to get a job like immediately? Yes, you have to consider that as well. Now another thing again you have to consider before you pick a university is, in the school, is the student union body active? Is it diverse? Is it just full of a certain group of people that they don't consider certain group of people? Now if the student union is very active and they consider students' voice and your voice matter, they will always want to know how you're adjusting into the university. They will always want to know what you're lacking. They will always want to know, like, they always want to check on you from time to time. Probably the emails you might receive might not be tailored to you specifically, and some of them are tailored to you specifically, but the fact that they are always keeping up, telling you, okay, this weekend we have this planned out in case you're interested in things like this, you know, that is something very, very encouraging. And they keep sending you mails from time to time to participate in games, events, like maybe parties and stuff for people that are interested in things like that. Make sure that the student union is also diverse. Maybe the cabinet members are diverse, maybe people from here, so that you know that your own interests will also be tackled by someone that is from your region, you know. And they also have a lot of other things that you can participate in as an international student. So also have to consider this before you pick a UK university. Now another thing you also have to consider is, when you're paying your tuition, does this school have a payment structure that is very favorable to you? Now most schools will tell you, pay a certain amount of money, will issue you cash, then when you now come over, you can now pay the remaining. Now what they don't really tell you is how you're going to pay that remaining. Most schools don't tell you how you're going to pay that remaining. When you now come over, they will now start charging you this money, like you're going to pay this month, you're going to pay this next month, you're going to pay. So there is no span or giving you time for you to like accuse. So some people actually get these schools, pay the first one they tell them to pay, so that when they come into the UK, they can now work to pay the rest. Now some schools don't give even breathing space to like accumulate this money to pay the rest. Now some schools will give you a very nice payment structure that, okay, you pay every 2 months, every 3 months, you pay certain amount of money. How much you're paying to is going to matter to you, because if they're asked to pay like half, let's say 3/4 of the money before you come, and once you come they tell you pay the remaining like at once, and you're not even prepared to pay the remaining, like you don't even have that money to pay the remaining, is going to be a problem for you. So you're going to find it difficult, because every day you're going to be panicking. And another thing you have to find out in UK is nothing is free. If you don't pay when they tell you to pay, they start adding interest, and you never even get the money to pay the first one. Not today, pay interest with the on top of. So things are things you have to consider before you move to the UK. What's the payment structure for the tuition if you're paying instrumentally? What's the payment structure for the school? If it's favorable to you, then go ahead with it. Don't pay the first one because you really want to get cash and you really want to leave your country. Let me just pay this first one and figure out the rest. No, figure out everything before you even commit to the school, because once you commit, you have committed. and at the end of the day, if you can't keep, or you end up being a dropout, or maybe accumulating some debts that you don't even plan for. So think about it before you move to the UK. Now I'm gonna sum this all up to tell you that UK is very, very, very expensive, irrespective of whatever city you're living in. Now another thing you have to also know that is, even with these expenses, you have to plan your life before you come to the UK. Everybody says come to the UK. You have to think about a lot of factors as it relates to you, because I won't just give you all my experiences because it might not be related to you. You might not relate to my experiences, so your experiences will be different from mine depending on where you're coming from. A lot of people have some certain luxurious lifestyle that if I'm talking about living on a budget, they can't relate. Now a lot of people have a budget living lifestyle. If I'm talking about living luxuriously, they can't relate. So you have to think of how everything sums up and how it relates to you. So yeah, that's about it. I just said I should bring this to you so that you know what you need to consider before you pick a UK university. Don't just pick it because you have friends that are already there. Don't just pick it because you know someone that goes there. Don't just pick it because, oh, it's Oxford. Don't just pick because it's Harvard, it's Cambridge, it's Stanford. No, pick the school because it is tailored to you and your interest will be considered as an individual, not as a collective. Because a lot of schools relate to students as collectives. Oh, these are students we have. They don't relate to you as you. This is your strong suit. Let us harness the strong suit. Let us work on your weaknesses. Let us see how we can polish your portfolio to fit you. So they just teach you as, okay, since this person can understand it, you should understand it, so we don't really care. So you have to pick a school based on the fact that it considers you as a person, your strong suit, your weaknesses are tailored into the course you're going to study and how they can help you as an individual. Don't pick because you have family members. Yes, having family members within the region that you pick is really helpful, because they are going to help you in such a way, emotionally, physically, and otherwise. Because will you get depressed? Yes, you're going to get depressed. That one is a show banker. You're going to get depressed one way or the other. You're going to get overwhelmed by a lot of things, especially if you're coming from regions that are very chilled. So you have to think about distance before you get to UK. So in subsequent videos, I'm going to talk about other things as it relates to me, my own personal experiences, you know, because it affects you differently. Like, it affects you differently, but having an idea of what you might possibly go through, maybe you might go through it, maybe you might not go through it, but having an idea of what could possibly be obtainable is really good to help you get prepared, or prepare your mind for what you're coming for when you move to the UK. So I'm going to talk more about things that will help you, you know, with moving to the UK with your family or alone. And if there are other things that comes up, I'll make a part 2 of this video and share more details with you guys so you can be well prepared where other people or where I wasn't prepared. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and hit the bell button for notifications whenever I upload a video, so till I come your way again with another video. Peace.